Shauna-Kaye Brown to the InteSoul Leadership stage, where we're sharing what leadership should look like, feel like, and leave people feeling like, what it should sound like. Welcome, 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 Shauna-Kaye.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Yvette. I'm very grateful to be here. I'm always happy to share what I know and what I've learned and grown through in respect of leadership. So I'm truly happy to be here this morning and hope that whatever we share will benefit someone in a positive way.
Awesome. So it was a little over a year ago that we met in San Diego, California. I was out there for my birthday. We participated in Tag Talk. And so I am ever grateful for that experience because I got to meet great people like yourself and we stayed connected, which is awesome. It's one thing to meet people in your travels, but when you can find that connection and you stay connected, that's amazing. So I've been watching your journey and you are personal transformation strategist. Let me get that right. A personal transformation strategist. Um, so, can you share with the audience what that means and how you do that?
Absolutely. I believe that transformation starts from within. And I call myself a personal transformation strategist because I believe this most appropriately describes what I do, personifies what I do. I believe in being intentional when it comes to developing people. And because transformation starts from within, it really takes time to sit one on one with someone and help them to understand, first of all, why there needs to be transformation, and then what they need to do in terms of the internal work to see that manifest in their lives. Because a lot of times individuals would look at what other people are doing and aspire to be that or aspire to achieve certain things, not realizing that the crucial foundation, which is a transformation, has to take place first. And that can take any amount of time. As much as you put in the process is what you're going to get out of it. So it has to be strategic and it has to be intentional. And that is why I'm a personal transformation strategist, because that's the laser focus I take when it comes to helping people develop.
Yeah, and here's the important thing that I heard: it takes time. And sometimes, well, a lot of times, if we look at what other people are doing, we start to think, why am I not there? Why is it? I'm not stupid. I'm not slow. I'm not, I can get this. I understand what's being presented, but why isn't it happening for me? And so, how do you help people stop looking around, but you still have to pay attention to what's on in your environment, in your industry? So it's like, which one do I do? Do I pay attention to what's going on, or do I just focus on what I'm supposed to do? How do we do that?
So that's a great question, Yvette, because it is inevitable that you're going to fall into that place of comparison because, like you rightly said, you're seeing what is going on around you, and it's very difficult for you to block that out and just remain laser focused. So, as leaders, we can always tell other people, just block it out, put on your blinders, and keep going. Easier said than done because you are cognizant of what is going on around you. But what I would say is, it's all about narrowing it down. And that is why I value goal setting, because writing things down and getting clarity on where you want to go can help you when you get in that phase or in that stage of comparison. It can bring you back on course because you have a goal and you have an aim in view. I believe that in order for you to achieve your goal without being sucked in that by that comparison, we've heard it often said that comparison is a thief of joy or a thief of all joy. And a lot of times what you're comparing yourself with is actually not the whole picture. You see what someone is doing, and sometimes it's just a 2% manifestation of the hard work that went in on the back end. And sometimes people show the best of themselves, whereas their 95% need so much work, but we're comparing our entire lives to that 5%. And that's what I usually do when I'm speaking to people who I realize that they are plagued by comparison. I always bring them back to that reality that you don't really know what you're comparing yourself to. You're just seeing a part of what an individual is willing to show. but there is work behind that. There is dirt behind that. There's so much behind that. And you're allowing your entire life to be determined, or the trajectory of your life to be determined by this little bit that you're seeing. And like you said, it is important to be cognizant of what's going on in your industry, because the industry is forever changing. We're in this geographical space that is melted by the technology. It becomes so much smaller, and everything is happening really fast. You go to bed today and it's one thing, and you wake up tomorrow and it's something else. So you definitely have to pay attention to what's going on in the industry if you want to keep abreast of everything and be on that level or even surpass it. But it is the intentionality of writing that down, getting clear about your vision and where you want to go, so you know how to compartmentalize and dissect what you're seeing, to know what you should pay attention to and what is just a distraction to keep you off course.
That's awesome. And I think the time element is also important to pay attention to, right? Which is why, as you said, we have to keep going. We have to understand that goal because, and when I say time element, there is an appointed time for us to reach the finish line or that next milestone, right? And so we have to keep pushing and keep going and keep working because we will eventually meet that intersection where everything is going to really all of a sudden start working for us and things are going to happen. You can put all the right things in place. You can practice and adhere to all the strong guidance that people give you and things like that. But um, there is a time element that we have to be cognizant of, I think, and we can't be discouraged by that. We if as long as you know that you've been created for a purpose and a reason, and that as long as you're on that track, you can't miss it as long as you're continue purposely going after it. So
Exactly.
can you share who's this for? Who's this personal transformation for?
So that's a great question, because as you speak on the subject of purpose and why we're here, none of us is here to serve everybody. But there are some people, some designated individuals who I like to say they were designed or aligned to be served by you. And when you don't walk in that purpose, those individuals are pretty much left in limbo, which is why we have to be intentional about purpose. My transformation services is for individuals who get to that point in their lives where they're at an impasse. They feel they're on the brink of hopelessness. They're on the brink of thinking or feeling, I don't have enough time or I'm too late. So it's that hopelessness, that destitution, that place where you know you can be more and you know you want more, but you're not sure what's the next step to take. Those
Mm,
are the people I was called to, because I've been to that place before where I thought that there was no way out and I knew I needed to do and be more, but I didn't know the step to take. And then one day I was listening to one of Les Brown videos on YouTube, and something he said stood out. He said, never make a permanent decision for a temporary problem.
mm,
I am that person at the intersection, that brink where an individual may just top over by making a permanent decision that they cannot change. I am
right.
right there to help you to realize that this is temporary. And if you're able to work through this, then you're going to become stronger for it. That you're going to be more refined and ready to take on the next level. Because every time God is taking you to another level, you have to go through something more, something harder, something you've never been through before. And whether or not you get to that next level turns on if you're able to go and grow through this thing.
Yeah. And I want to make sure the audience is clear when you say you feel like you're hopeless or you're too old to make the change. That old is not a number.
It is not. I'm glad you
It's a
said that.
state of mind.
I'm
So
glad you
you
said
could be 24 and feel like, man, I wasted so much time and I can't pivot now. You can be 64 and say, my age is help preventing me, but purpose is still calling you. And so, but you're feeling stuck. So that's not a number, it's a state of mind. And if you're in that state of mind where I've wasted too much time or it can't happen for me now because I see people who started younger or I know people who have been at this for a longer time. No, no, no. Shauna-Kaye is really reaching out to those folks, and she's called to those folks to be able to help you because, and what I love about this is I often say someone can't help someone. It's harder to help someone if you haven't been where they are, right? It's not impossible, but because you said you were in that state, can you share a little bit more about how you came out of that state and what really motivated you to this work that you're doing that is so needed?
Yes, before I answer that question, Yvette, I just want to quickly touch on what you said about age not being a number. And I'm glad you clarified that because a person at 30 may say, I am young and I have all the time in the world. But if that person's life is meant to end at 40, they're old. But a person at 60 who feels full of life may very well have a right to feel that way because they have another 30 years. And that's why age is not about your biological or your chronological age, but how you're perceiving things around you and what you can do, understanding that you shouldn't be limited by that chronological age.
Right.
Now, to answer your question, in terms of, repeat the question. Sorry.
It was like I was sharing with people that it's better to work with someone who has been where you
Oh,
are and can help you
right.
get out of that, because they understand. You don't have to explain. I had someone share with me. I was talking to him, and he said to me, I like talking to you, and he's someone in corporate leadership as well. He said, because I don't have to explain concepts to you. I don't have to take you down this road of giving you all these scenarios so you can understand what I'm talking about, because you live my world. So you're there. So I was like, wow, that is important for people, because when you're in a place where you're looking for help, the last thing you want to be able to do is have to explain why you need help. you know,
No, that's
well,
true.
I mean, explain the context of your help, I should say. So
Absolutely.
that's what I was asking. Can you just share how you came out of this and what, your story a little bit?
Yes, thank you for reminding me of that question, Yvette. So for me, there have been different stages in my life when I've had to pivot or when I've had to come out of something difficult. But one of them that I like to reference when I'm in such conversations is when I first moved to the US almost 10 years ago. I remember my first job was I was working in a restaurant, and I had done other corporate jobs before. I worked in corporate since I was a teenager in my late teens when I was in college. And I've done all kinds of difficult jobs up until that point. Yet I was working in this restaurant. I felt that pull and that call to just move on and become more focused and intentional about my journey because I'd already graduated law school by then. But when you make that transition to America, there are levels and processes that you have to go through before you can actually get back into the corporate or into the professional world, so to speak. And so I was there a little bit complacent, making good money and all of that. And something happened that I never thought would ever happen to me. I was fired.
Oh,
And on top of it, there were so many things going on at the time because I felt like it was not right. What was done was an injustice. I was dealing with that. I was dealing with I guess I could call it now, the burden of having to help my family back home. And I couldn't tell them what had happened because most of them were not in agreement with the move that I had made in the first place. So I had to continue to pull from that reservoir of saving and to help everyone. And here I was in that situation where I didn't know too many people. So I felt like I was on my own and I didn't have a job, didn't know I was going to pay my rent or anything. And it was just that low point in my life where I felt at that time, I imagine this is where someone gets to the brink of maybe I just need to make a permanent decision and make this all go away. And in the midst of all of that, God opened up a way for me to first meet one of my mentors that introduced me to the world of personal development. Speaking, for example, is something that I've always done as long as I can remember, but I was not aware that it was something you could use to actually make a living while empowering and inspiring people and motivating people to make a difference in their lives, which is what ultimately what I wanted to do. So when I learned about that, it really just sent me into a deep dive into personal development and leadership and what this does for a person and how I can help to change people's lives. And that was really the turning point and what got me into personal development and being so impassioned about helping other people to transform their lives, because I got to that brink, I got to that place where I wanted to just give up and not keep going because I'd made a bad decision. I made this move and now I didn't have a job and I didn't know who or where to turn to. And God
Right.
opened the way.
Right.
And I think that this connects to maybe later on in our discussion in terms of community and how important that is for all of us on our leadership journeys.
Yeah, you can go there. And I was gonna before we just as we do, um I you kept saying it was a decision. You had to make a decision. And I'm mentoring, kind of coaching or being a support to a young lady in my sphere of influence. And when she comes to me, she's talking and she'll regurgitate all the horrible things she's living. And I continuously say, it's a decision. You have to decide that I'm not going to do that anymore, or I'm not going to let that affect me anymore. And she said yesterday, you keep saying that to me. And I said, and I will continue to say it because it is a decision. I have to decide not only I'm going to get up, but I'm going to be happy today. I am going to be productive today. I might be a little slower one day getting to the productivity, but I decided I'm going to be productive. I'm going to do something that takes me a step further. And that's really what leaders are about. And I advocate, and I not just advocate, but I try to make everybody aware that we are all leaders in some capacity. And your story shows you're a leader in your family, you're a leader to yourself, you're a leader in your organization that you're building and you've created. You are a leader on your day to day job. We are leaders in multiple capacities of our lives. So that's why the InteSoul leadership community is so important to me, that we give leaders a space where they can absolutely be supported and we can share and lift each other up because it's a decision. Every decision counts.
Yes. And I don't know if you're seeing me because I'm not seeing myself. Are you still seeing me?
I see you, but I don't see you chatting. I don't see you talking. So you look frozen,
Oh, I
but I
don't
can
know why
hear
that.
you.
Okay. Well, I'm
Oh,
still here.
okay.
I'm not sure why it's frozen. But I'm so glad you went there because leadership has so many levels. John Maxwell has a book called Developing the Leader in You. And he talks about these 5 levels of leadership. And he actually, if you're interested, he actually expand in the book Developing the Leader in You, or the 5 levels of leadership. He talks about it. But the first level is position. And there are a lot of people who are stuck at the level of position. Position is more a title. You didn't necessarily do anything to get it. You just happen to be in that position of leadership. And there are a lot of people who lead from that place. They'll be
Mm-hmm.
in the workplace and they'll say, I'm your supervisor, I'm your director, and I say, do this, and you have to do it. And it's rarely a mindset that is fixed that dwells at that level of leadership and don't seek to go further. Because unless you keep climbing in your capacity and in your leadership to get to the point where now you're influencing people, that people are following what you're saying and doing, not because they have to, but because they want to. Because you have shown an interest in their development, you've shown an interest in their advancement, in their growth, and it is authentic. And that brings you to that place where now you're producing. It's about production, it is about helping people to give what they have. It's about duplication and recreation. And as a leader, you have to get to that level where it's not just about you anymore, it's about developing other people. And in my leadership right now, working as the vice president of housing for a nonprofit, I am about people development. So my leadership includes succession planning and cross training and things of that nature. And one of the things I do with everybody under my leadership, when I first meet them, we have this initial meeting, and I want to know about your professional and your personal goals to the extent that you're willing to share. And I help them to build a portfolio. because for whatever time you're under my leadership, you need to show where you started and how you've grown to when
Right.
you're ready to move to something else. And I feel like in leadership, we have to be intentional about that. We have to be outer directed and focus on developing people. As you develop the leader in you, it's not enough for you to be a great leader, Yvette, for me to be a great leader. Matter of fact, you can't be a great leader unless you're influencing and impacting lives.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that is so, so powerful. It's not just about time in a seat or in a position or a title. It's like it has to be about how you are really growing and helping others to grow it while you're in that space. So you joined InteSoul Leadership Community, which is a branch of Destiny Speak, my organization. What compelled you to say yes when I asked you and I shared with you the InteSoul Leadership Community?
Yes, I was happy to join it because it was at the right time. At that time, I was understanding more the value of community. And for me, InteSoul was the best thing because we had already met and I spent a lot of time with you during those days when we were in San Diego. So I learned a lot about your mindset as a leader. I saw the selflessness and how authentic you are about developing people and how frustrated you get when people in leadership are not intentional about this thing. And I'd never met someone so passionate about wanting to see leaders do right and be authentic. And I remember when you gave that talk and we had a conversation, and I was telling you just how impactful it was for me. Every day since then, it was in April of last year that we met. Every day since then, I've always remembered you when I was in a difficult
Wow.
leadership situation, and I would think, what would Yvette do, or how should I handle this situation? So by the time you asked me about the InteSoul community, it was a no-brainer. It was
Mm.
exactly what I needed then, and I'm very grateful that I've been able to be a part of a community where there are individuals who are intentional about developing the leader within themselves, and not only that, but creating more leaders.
Mm.
So thank you.
Thank you. That's awesome. I'm humbled by those those words. Yeah, it's important, and I love the fact that we're all sharing nuggets of wisdom, which we're getting ready to go into our wisdom challenge next week, starting Monday, where we have wisdom comes from experiences, not age. And I keep saying
Mhm.
that because I think over time we thought, oh, you have to live so many years to be able to share wisdom. No, you have to live through so many experiences to be able to share wisdom. And I know that because of how the world is constructed now, many people have many different impactful experiences that if they look for the wisdom that they glean from that, that somebody else can really understand and grow from those wisdoms. So we're intentionally, as leaders in that community, going to be sharing our wisdom nuggets because I think sometimes we forget about our wisdom nuggets and we just take them for granted. Like all the wisdom nuggets Shauna-Kaye has been sharing with us today. So if you are interested in joining, I'll have the link to share with you as well. It is a membership group. Um, it's a monthly fee. However, just $47 a month, and we get to share how we are living and breathing as leaders, and we can be transparent. It's a safe space for leaders to grow. We hold each other's confidence, but it's important for us to be there for one another. So,
Mhm.
as we're wrapping up, what advice do you give leaders today as they're meeting the challenges of uncertainty, right? Because you mentioned something earlier in your personal transformation as a personal transformation strategist that it starts with it starts from within, right?
Mhm.
So with all the different challenges that for many instances are unforeseen or we are unprecedented. Um, what what advice do you give leaders to be able to work and navigate through it and keep going?
Great question, Yvette. The first thing is for me, I think leaders who find themselves in that space, the first thing, the absolute first thing that they must do is to recognize that they're not alone. It is very easy to feel like you're alone when things are not going well, or when you get to that point of sort of hopelessness, or just in a changing space where sometimes you feel as though things are moving too fast or moving away from you. It's easy to think that you are alone. And that's why community is so important. So the first thing is to one, recognize that you're not alone. And then two, be intentional about becoming a part of community, because oftentimes you will find the answer to your questions and your concerns in a community. A lot of community spaces, you can literally go and pose a question: what do you do if this or that happens? And you'll be surprised to see the influx of ideas and suggestions, things that you probably did not think of because of the pressure of the moment or the frustration of the moment. There are people there who are in a different space at the time, who are able to think clearly and maybe have been in similar situations, who can give you practical measures that you can implement. So be in a space, or find a space or community where you can get that type of support from.
Yeah.
And number three, don't ever get complacent as a leader. We
Right.
always hear it said in this cliche that nothing good happens or nothing great happens in the comfort zone. If you
Mm,
want to continue to grow as a leader, to reach that pinnacle, which is John Maxwell's level 5, if there is such a thing as a pinnacle or a zenith, you have to have that mindset of always growing, always stretching, always becoming. And when you have that mindset, even when things get difficult, you will be able to remind yourself that this is a part of the stretching. I have a friend who has a book. She talks about embracing the stretch. It's getting to
wow.
that point in your life where things get so difficult that you don't even know what you're going to do. And you have to recognize that this is a stretch. This is what the stretch that God has given you, because He has put so much into you. And the Word of God says, to whom much is given, much is required. So He's
Uh,
recognizing that that's the stretch that you have to embrace, and that there are people along the journey to help you do that.
yeah.
Community.
Yeah. And I love that, because we do have to intentionally seek out the help we need. And it may not just be in one community. You may need to get a community for leadership, maybe get a community for your coaching business, whatever it is. For There are different communities that are speaking specifically to the need that you have, and it will cultivate it.
Mhm.
And remember what we started out hearing from Shauna-Kaye earlier: comparison steals joy. So while you're in those communities, don't compare yourself to other people. Glean from the information that being shared, and then make it your own, make it a part of who you are, so that you can grow and go, and you won't be stuck. So I want to thank Shauna-Kaye for being here. Shauna, I would like for you to share. We'll share your information, contact information, for people who want to connect with you and potentially do some work with you. But tell us what you have coming up, if anything, and I know you do. Congratulations on all the awards. Shauna-Kaye, as she mentioned, is a speaker, a professional speaker, and but she trains that way. She's intentionally going after that speaking and continuing to build and strengthen that muscle that she has. So she's just won an award from Toastmasters in New York, and she's just doing phenomenal things. So please reach out to her. So what do you have coming up?
Well, I do have, at the end of July, I have the Embrace the Stretch Summit, which is July 28th, where I will be speaking about the power of your story. Everyone has a story, and it is really learning how to leverage your story. Even if that story is full of pain, you can leverage that pain as a platform for leadership, because other people have been through pain and need someone who can help them get through it the way you have. And I'm going to be talking about how to use your story in that way. Also, I recently, one of my books, the Strategic Goal Setting Handbook, it was placed in the bookshop at Long Island University, and it's actually on a course list for a career planning course there. So later this year, I am going to be a guest lecturer for that career planning class at Long Island University as well. There are lots of
Nice.
things I'm working on. I also have a course coming up about becoming a fearless speaker. A lot of people are inhibited by fear in their speaking. They have to speak in different capacities, whether to small groups or at work for presentations or to larger groups. And they're plagued and crippled by fear. And I want to help them to understand how to feel the fear and do it anyway. I'm really excited about that project.
Awesome. Well, you please continue to do this phenomenal work that you're doing because there's so many people who need it. And that's the other thing. People might wonder, why do I share this platform? It's because we all have specific groups to reach people and certain people, and not one of us can reach everybody. So we need to make sure that we open opportunities, provide opportunities for the people who need it to get to the people who are for them. And that's why it's important to be secure in who you are, do that personal transformation work, and show up in your greatest self and allow and support others who are in the work that they do. So thank you, Shauna-Kaye, for one, sharing your story and your work with us today. Thank you for being a part of the InteSoul leadership community. And we will post information about your work. And thank you all who are listening either today or live or on the replay. Let us know how this has helped you. And we look forward to you joining us in the InteSoul leadership community. Thank you again and enjoy your day. Bye bye
Thank,
now.
thank you.